My name is Carly, and I'm bringing you a book talk today, which is something I haven't done in quite a while, I realized. I just recently finished this heck of a trilogy, the Mistborn trilogy, and I had some stuff to say on it, and so I figured I would just loop them all together and do a book talk on this trilogy. We'll include the first book, Mistborn, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages, all by Brandon Sanderson. And I know there's more books that take place in this series, but I have not read them yet. I may read them in the future, but they will not be included in this because I will be focusing just on these first three books. There will be spoiler talk, especially for this last one because it's the one I read most recently and I can remember the best. So if you do not want to be spoiled for anything, I would say you might want to read them and then come back and watch this video. Without further ado, I'm just going to get started. So I read these over the course of like 3 months, so my memory of these first two may be a little patchy. But what I will say is that I was not expecting to like these nearly as much as I did. High fantasy was always something that kind of scared me, something that I never felt that was going to be for me and that was going to be something that I enjoyed reading. But I decided to give the first one a chance, and I read as you probably saw in my vacation TBR, I read it, like the sample of on my Kindle, and I was like so enthralled and I just wanted to know what happened that I just absolutely had to buy it and ended up loving it so much more than I thought I would have. The plot of it is, at least the first book, it follows this group of characters, Vin, Kelser, Breeze, Clubs, Spook, just these group of characters who are trying to overthrow their empire, this person they call the Lord Empire, who has been in power for about like 1,000 years, I think it is, or 10,000, I can't exactly remember. But he's been in power for many years, and he's been able to live like all these years under some mysterious circumstances, and he cannot be killed. So they're trying to overthrow him because he has created this group. So you've got the nobles and the Ska, I think is how you pronounce it. And the Ska are these working class, basically slaves. They're poor, they are the lowest of the low. And you've got the noblemen who are rich and have some sort of power within this society. And this group of people are all kind of Ska, so they're all tired of dealing with the stuff they have to deal with, which they can't, like, they have so many restrictions on them, like where they can live and what they can do and just how they're treated. They are tired of that and tired of the noblemen having this power just because they supposedly were our ancestors of the Lord Empire's friends. So they concocted a plan to overthrow the Lord Empire. And they were able to do so, weirdly enough. And then this kind of is what drives the issue for the next two books, The Well of Ascension and The Hero of Ages. So that's one thing I really liked, was that by overthrowing the Empire, the Lord Empire, it wasn't just all hunky-dory, everything's grand and fine. There were other issues, more than like, oh, he was keeping this magical, not this magical, but like this dangerous force away from everyone. But it also had to deal with just political unsteadiness, uneasiness. Like, they killed him. This nobleman named Eland became like king or emperor or stuff, and he didn't really have like a strong grasp, so everything just kind of spiraled out of control. So the series deals with like this lack of strong ruler. Like, everyone, I mean, this guy had been in charge for like 1,000 years or so. So everyone had been used to that way of life, and suddenly it's all gone. And even though like they were treated horribly, this guy still kind of wanted that life because at least they had, like, it was what they knew and they had control over it, and there was stability. There was stability to that way of life. Well, once it was overthrown and Eland wasn't in power and he didn't really know what to do, there was no stability. Like, crops weren't growing, people were running away. You have all these different, like, you have the mists that are all over this world that are suddenly killing people and no one knows what to do. You've got people trying to seize power in different domains, and like everything is just out of control now. And I liked that it did deal with that. Like, that's not something I would normally think of. But if you were to overthrow such a big empire and then put someone in charge that really never had this, just put someone new in charge in general, and especially someone who does not have that practice of being in charge, especially of the pretty much the whole world, it would throw everyone into like just craziness. Like, there would be nothing. So I really like that the Well of Ascension and the Hero of Ages did deal with those issues, along with the issues of like this force and like what had originally happened so many years ago that put the Lord Empire into power. And so I thought Brandon Sanderson did a really great job with kind of dealing with those issues, which was not something that I would normally have thought about. So that was good. I will say the Well of Ascension for me was a little slower. Like, it dealt very heavily in the political. Like, here, like, it follows, I think it's about a year or so right after the fall of the last empire, and it's Ellen in charge, and he's trying to put his like philosophical way of government through, but it's not working so well because what he wants is that everyone kind of has a say, but what's everyone is used to is this one person telling them what to do. So that really throws everything into chaos, and he's kind of really idealistic, so you get to see him kind of become not quite as idealistic and deal with what he wants to do and what needs to be done to get to where he wants to be, and kind of, so that was an interesting thing for him. But yeah, it was very political based, and the Well of Ascension honestly didn't really come in till like the end of the book, and so I was kind of reading this whole book going, so when are we gonna get to anything? When is anything really gonna happen? Because all of a sudden things happen right at the end, and then it's over, and it's a little jarring. But I will say the Hero of Ages, the third book, really picked up. Like, that one was really good. I like wanted to know what happened. I liked all the different plot lines that was going on, and it all really tied together well enough. It shows like different characters and what happened to them after the events of the Well of Ascension, and I liked how each and every person kind of got their own chapter and how it all tied together, because by the Hero of Ages, I mean, the mists are killing more people, and they're trying to figure out what's happening there. The ash is falling more thickly, and that's going to cover the earth, and you've got the Colossus that are just going crazy. You've got the Inquisitors that have suddenly gone like rogue and like are totally this force to be reckoned with. And you've got Vin and Elin who are trying to just save the world. But it was really exciting for like most of it, and it was just a good ending to this trilogy, and it made me want to read the next ones, other ones that take place in the series, so that I can see how humanity figures stuff out. Because at the end of the Hero of Ages, you've got their new god, who was Hazid, which was one of these people that got knowledge, and they could remember loads and loads of knowledge in the same way that Elemancers could as well. And he becomes God, and he kind of changes everything back to what it had been before the final empire. And so I'm really curious as to how humanity was able to adapt to that, what they thought of it, so maybe want to read it. But yeah, overall, as a trilogy, I really liked it. Some parts were slower. I mean, these are huge books. One thing I will say when I was reading them, I mean, they're like 600, 700 paged books, but like, I was always very surprised at how quickly I was able to get through them, or at least it felt like I got through them, because I think at one point I read like 50 pages and like 40 minutes on my lunch break, and I was very surprised at how caught up in the story I got and how quickly I read that, considering how big and how dense these books actually are. So that's kind of a plot overview. I wanted to get into other things, not so big compared to the plot. But in this book, it does have this magic system where a person potentially can be able to use certain metals to perform different actions. Like, You might be able to push on a metal, pull on a metal, enhance someone's like emotions or damper it or hide people who are using these powers. And you've got the Mistborn, and those are called Allomancers. And you've got the Mistborn who can control all of these powers. And so that's what I will say, and I think I've heard everyone else kind of say, is that Brandon Sanderson does a great job of creating the world and this magic system. Like, I mean, I think in the first book I did kind of have to look up a little bit just to understand it a bit, but it wasn't much, and I think that was more of a personal thing. It was still really well done, especially his world building. Like, he had such great world building, just learning where the different, I guess, groups come from, because you've got the Terracemen, you've got Kendra, you've got the Colossus, and you've got the Ska and the Noble, the humans, and it was interesting, at least in the Hero of Ages, finding out how very similar each and every one of these groups were and how they came to be, and just their own worlds and their, I shouldn't say worlds, but their own societies and how each one kind of ran. That was really well done and really interesting. Though on the flip side, I will say, how well Brandon Sanderson does the world building, the characters were not quite on par. I will admit that in the first book you've got a whole group of people, and I know a few die at the end of that book and a few more die at the end of the Well of Ascension, but honestly I can't remember who was part of the original group besides the people that were in the Hero of Age, and that's not necessarily a great thing. They weren't really brought up, then honestly I wasn't gonna really remember. But, and on that topic, I never really felt like a good connection to each of these characters. Like in other books, you feel for characters and you really like them, but in these books, I didn't really have that connection to those characters. Like, I liked them fine enough, but that was kind of it. And that was something that was really kind of disappointing to me, because I like really well the character driven stuff, and to kind of not really care either way of what happens to these characters was a little disappointing, considering this is where some spoilers come in. I mean, when Kelsier died, I wasn't like super surprised, or like I didn't really feel much for that. When Vin and Ellen died, I just went through 3 books with them, and again, it was like, at least they're happy and living together, but I don't really have any strong feelings towards these deaths. And those deaths, those are like some really, like, those were the important people, those were the main characters who died, and I'm like, I don't have this strong feeling towards this either way. And that made me a little sad. And what made me more sadder was that, like I said, the original group, people died in the first book, Mistborn, people died in the second book, The Well of Ascension, and again, I don't have any strong feelings towards their deaths, nor can I even remember who died. I can't remember who died. But I can't, and that's like not something that I really like when it comes to books. All in all, I really liked the Mistborn trilogy, like a lot more than I thought I would. I read the first book on vacation, I came home and instantly bought the next 2 books. So it was a fun read. It was a good read. I was into it, and it's made me want to read more of his stuff. So, but I did have issues, like I said, with kind of characters not being as well, like not feeling quite as attached to the characters. But on the other hand, like I said, his world building is phenomenal. It was so well done. Have you read it? Did you like it? I don't leave anything you want to say in the comments below, and I hope this made a little sense. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys again with another video soon. Bye.
No, no, no.